all for witnessing this moment. A murmur of shock rippled through the audience. Bubbles quickly stepped up to the stage, pulling Richard aside. "Richard, this is deeply concerning," Bubbles whispered urgently. "What are you doing? You are proposing marriage? Are you thinking clearly? You and Susan have a very passionate relationship, but you also experience significant communication challenges. Furthermore, why would an engagement require a livestock presentation?" "It was a creative suggestion from the boys," Richard defended himself. "A large animal symbolizes a large commitment." "It is an overwhelming gesture," Julian added, stepping up to join them. "You need to return this animal to its proper home immediately. If she truly loves you and wishes to marry you, which is a significant decision, you do not need a horse to prove your worth." Richard looked at his two best friends, then out at the crowd, and finally at the horse, who was happily chewing on a patch of clover. "You know what, Bubbles?" Richard said softly. "I truly believe that I love her enough to make this work. A strong foundation of love should be able to overcome our occasional disagreements, should it not? I only want you to experience true happiness, Richard," Bubbles said, placing a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. "We just want you to be absolutely certain." "Perhaps the horse was a slight overcalculation in terms of gifting," Richard admitted sheepishly. "I merely wanted to demonstrate to my future wife the magnitude of my affection. But the true announcement remains the engagement itself." "Congratulations, Richard," Julian said sincerely, offering a warm smile. "Well, here she arrives now," Richard announced, his face lighting up as he saw Susan walking down the path toward the gathering. Susan was a woman of intense energy, but today, her face was clouded with deep emotional distress. She marched directly up to Richard, ignoring the crowd, the music, and the massive horse standing nearby. "Richard, we need to have a very serious conversation immediately," Susan said, her voice shaking not with anger, but with profound sadness. "Susan, my love, what is troubling you?" Richard asked, stepping forward with his arms open. "I was just about to ask you the most important question of our lives." "You cannot ask me that, Richard," Susan interrupted, tears welling in her eyes. "I have spent the entire morning reflecting on our relationship. We are living in a constant state of chaos. You are always searching for a shortcut, a grand gesture to mask the lack of daily stability. I need a partner who is grounded, someone who faces reality rather than building elaborate fantasies." Richard lowered his arms, the joy draining from his expression. "Susan, I built a beautiful deck for us. I brought you a majestic horse to show my devotion." "That is exactly my point, Richard," she sobbed softly. "A horse does not pay the utility bills. A wooden deck does not provide emotional security. I thought we were building a mature life together, but you are still playing games. I cannot continue on this path. It is breaking my heart, but we must end this relationship today." The crowd fell completely silent. The upbeat music seemed incredibly out of place. "Susan, please, let us discuss this," Richard pleaded, his voice cracking. "I have changed. I was trying to be better." "You are a wonderful man with a huge heart, Richard," Susan said, wiping her tears. "But we are simply not compatible for the long journey of life. I wish you nothing but the absolute best." Without another word, Susan turned and walked away, leaving Richard standing alone on the stage, the engagement ring burning a hole in his pocket. The horse let out a soft, sympathetic whinny. Julian stepped up and wrapped his arm around Richard's shoulders. "Just let her walk her path, my friend. It is ultimately for the best. You will heal from this." "Are you all right, Richard?" Bubbles asked softly, his eyes full of empathy. "I am fine," Richard lied, staring at the ground. "I think I just want to be by myself for a little while." As the afternoon faded into a cool, starry evening, the atmosphere in the park shifted from festive to reflective. The crowd had dispersed, leaving only the core group of friends sitting around a small, crackling campfire. Bubbles had packed away his soda stand, but he brought a few bottles to share. Julian sat on a worn folding chair, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. Despite the emotional turmoil today, I must admit, Bubbles, this beverage is spectacular. You have created something truly valuable. Thank you, Julian, Bubbles replied quietly, staring into the flames. Listen, Bubbles, Julian started, his voice adopting that familiar, persuasive tone. Any chance you could lend me a small sum of money? Just a tiny advance on future profits. I need to clear my mind tonight. I am sorry, Julian, Bubbles said, shaking his head. I cannot do that. Richard sat on a log opposite them, staring blankly into the fire. He looked exhausted, defeated, and deeply vulnerable. Bubbles took a deep breath, standing up from his chair. He looked at Julian, then at Richard. The firelight reflected in his large glasses, making him look exceptionally wise. My dear friends, Bubbles began, his voice ringing out clearly in the quiet night. I have something resting heavily upon my heart, and it has been building for a very long time. I can no longer keep these thoughts to myself. Julian and Richard looked up, surprised by the solemnity in Bubbles' voice. I will begin by stating the most important fact. I love you both very deeply, Bubbles said, his voice thick with emotion. I always have and I always will. You are my family. We love you too, Bubbles, Julian replied softly. What is on your mind, friend? Richard asked. Please, simply listen to my words, Bubbles requested gently. This might be difficult to hear, but it is necessary. Have either of you truly looked into a mirror recently? Have you observed the passage of time on your faces? Richard shifted uncomfortably. I try to avoid mirrors. They force me to confront realities I prefer to ignore. You must confront it, Richard, because it is time for us to embrace adulthood, Bubbles urged passionately. We are aging, my friends. We are no longer the spry, reckless youths we once were. Our bodies are changing, our energy is fading, yet our behaviors remain stubbornly juvenile. You are still seeking dangerous shortcuts, engaging in illicit activities as if you were 17 years old. Nothing is evolving, and absolutely no one is benefiting from these actions. Richard looked down. I believed my agricultural project would finally be the ultimate benefit. I thought I was securing our retirement. But you are not retired, Richard, Bubbles exclaimed, gesturing emphatically. That is precisely the point I am trying to illustrate. You are not retired, and keeping secrets from your family to pursue risky ventures is fundamentally wrong. I know, Richard whispered, a single tear escaping his eye. It was foolish. I should have been honest with all of you. This moment, tonight, must serve as our profound awakening, Bubbles declared, looking between the two men. I have transitioned to a legitimate lifestyle. I am operating an honest, respectable business. I know the difficult cycles you both fall into. When funds are low, desperation sets in, and that desperation leads to terrible consequences. If you continue on this path, you will face severe legal repercussions. Bubbles walked over and placed a hand on Richard's shoulder, then reached out to touch Julian's arm. Imagine a future where you are isolated, facing the consequences of poor decisions alone. Bubbles continued, his voice dropping to an emotional whisper. Imagine reaching the end of your journey on this earth without the comfort of your family, without Trinity, without Jacob, without your beautiful grandchild, and without me to hold your hand. A heavy, profound silence fell over the campfire. The crackling of the wood was the only sound in the night. The weight of Bubbles' words settled deep into their hearts. Please do not speak of such tragic endings, Bubbles, Richard choked out, wiping his face. It hurts to hear. It is the truth, Richard, Bubbles said softly. If you truly cherish the love and brotherhood we share,